Hello friends, welcome back, and for anyone who's new, welcome. My name is Shaina Farmer, and together with my family, we are here on this planet cultivating love wherever we can. And today, that finds us here in the Arizona desert. I've decided, after lots of questions and lots of reflection, that I would put together a comprehensive video, more of a technical video about our past 2 years on the road, places we've been, words of wisdom that I have, so to speak, and just things that I feel were important that I honestly didn't know before I started this journey. For anyone who doesn't know, I lived the first 35 years of my life, with the exception of a couple years, in the same state, in very close proximity to where many of my family and ancestors have lived, really, since this country was formed. And stepping out into the unknown and doing something different with my family really called to us, and we took that leap, and it's led us here. And as I made videos before with homesteading and sharing that knowledge that I gained, so too with these videos I share the knowledge and that I've gained doing this now in my life. And I hope for you to use this maybe just as a guidepost. I like to say that in life we are all here to experience what we're all here to experience, and just because one person had that experience doesn't mean your experience will be that way, both negative and positive. I like to look at it on the positive side of that, and my best advice is to go forward with what you truly feel within you, because that's the only way you'll ever truly know. Now this video, when it comes to tips and tricks with traveling, it's more going to be based on our side of things, meaning more off-grid travel and things aligned with nature. We do have an off-grid converted school bus, so we don't go to a lot of KOAs or all-inclusive places. We like to go more so away from the crowd and more into nature. That's our intentions, and so you will see that within this video. That's what we focus on. There are still great tips for anyone, no matter how you travel, but I just so you know, that's what we're going to be talking about, and that's the lens in which I've been able to view this world. And yeah, so stick around. We're going to talk about different things, different places, and I hope this covers especially some of the questions that I've been asked over these last 2 years. And really, my intention is to help you grow and expand and honestly have the ability to allow the most amount of love, unconditional love, in your life that you can. Let's talk about the best places that we've visited. For background, we started this journey in January of 2022 in Rhode Island. Since we've been on the road, we have been to every state but Utah, Nevada, Alaska, and Hawaii. There are a few states that we only visited as a family before we traveled, specifically New England and a lot of the East Coast. So we haven't visited those in our schoolie. However, we did a lot of extensive traveling, and so we kind of don't count those. Within these places I'm going to talk about, a lot of this for me has to do with not only the experience, but really what we experienced within nature as well. So that's really where my journey has taken us and what I'm really focusing on. But I'm going to try to stay in chronological order of places we've been, just to make it easier. England, Arizona was the complete opposite. I had come here once to visit a friend back in 2006, and I remember loving that it was March and it was 70 degrees. And so we headed here, that very first leg of the journey, to come to Skoolie Plaza, a Skoolie event. And when we were here, we also ended up using an app called Hip Camp, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in the tips and the tricks. But we ended up finding a place that we could stay, and we ended up staying for, I think, 6-8 weeks. And we really ended up staying because we loved the people that we were spending time with. We were able to not only make new friends and connect as human beings and share our similarities and our stories, but we were also able to help them with their land. And part of the reason we got on the road was to find more land for us to homestead, but really we knew it was to meet more intentional humans who are trying to leave a beautiful footprint on this planet. And that was really the first place that I think we found that, not only at the Skoolie event but in Arizona, but with the friends that we stayed with. We ended up staying our first 2 winters. We stayed with them, and it was just beautiful and eye-opening, and that's part of something that I would suggest place-wise is when you find people that you want to spend time with, do so. Don't second guess it. And when you're doing this full time, there is no schedule. So we don't like to schedule things months in advance and meticulously plan. We like to take things in flow and really take it days or weeks and sometimes hours at a time, which has led to some beautiful interactions for us. After we left Arizona, we did a lot of little putzing around because we wanted to hit a lot of these states. Because again, we were thinking, we're heading back east, we're going to find land. That's it. The next place that we found that we really enjoyed was Texas, specifically like the hill country of Texas. We have 6 tires in the bus. We had 2 blow as we were driving. Thankfully, it was the 2 inner tires in the back, and so we were able to get to a place that could fix it. But in the meantime, we were, some would say stuck or broken down, but really we were given the opportunity to slow down in this beautiful place, Menard, Texas, and stayed at this little RV park along the river, and it was just really, really special. We were welcomed with open arms and just enjoyed, again, this was around beautiful people and beautiful company. And yeah, that was beautiful. And we also went down to the Gulf in Texas, which was also beautiful, but much busier, not as aligned with the pristine nature. Speaking of pristine nature, we're going to go to our next place that we went, which was someplace we only actually stayed a week. It was supposed to be one night, and we ended up staying a week because, again, the people in this land were so beautiful. And that was in Louisiana at this beautiful place called Snow White Sanctuary, where we met Alyssa and Ocean and their beautiful family. And we were called to help and assist in any way we could. And Asriel helped with the garden, and they had animals, which at this point had been almost a year since we had rehomed all of our farm animals, and we had goats and Pyrenees, and so we just really got to connect with our love of not only nature but animals and beautiful souls raising beautiful children. And even if they were much younger than our beings, they all still connected and interacted. And it was just wonderful. And then from there, we ended up in, from there, next I would say Arkansas and Missouri. Now, they're 2 different places. I'm putting them together only because it took us about a month to go through the 2. Specifically, the hills, the northern part of Arkansas, and that's why I say we're going to include it with Missouri, because our experience with those 2 states were in that area that's very close to the border of the 2, and we fell in love with the pure, raw nature that was around us, the preserved beauty that the people there are all contributing to in their own way. And we got some beautiful lessons in faith and realignment to what we were going for. We thought it was just land, and then we realized that our feeling was so strong to get on the road, and we knew that we couldn't settle until we got that feeling again. And so we moved to West Virginia, where the Monongahela National Forest was calling my soul. And again, through Hip Camp, we found John and his beautiful encampment, and we stayed for a few months and made friends and learned lessons, and ended up training the dogs with GPS collars, and really we searched for land the whole time. And then by October the snow was coming and we hadn't found anything yet, and so we knew that that was our cue to head elsewhere. And so on our quest down to the dry desert again, we stopped in Oklahoma, which became one of mine and Robbie's favorite places. Just beautiful, again, with the nature, the land. We stayed at state parks. We were very fortunate, and it was a wonderful time. And then we went back to Arizona, which clearly I've talked about. And then from there, I have, I think maybe 4 more places to speak about. The next would be, after we left Arizona, would be South Dakota. So we ended up in South Dakota multiple times when we were going east, and then again when we were going west. And while there's nothing for me to say, there's no forest, there's nothing extreme when it comes to the area, it's so clear because there's so many less people, if that makes sense. When we lived in Rhode Island, the population of Rhode Island is the same as the population of South Dakota. And if you look at those two states, you can see what a vast difference that is, land-wise. So the land was just it still felt very sacred, and so we kept being drawn there. And then Minnesota was another personal favorite. Not only because of my family there, but also it very much felt like home to my Scandinavian roots. It felt very much where I feel my ancestors would have been right at home. And so a part of me really connected with the trees, which is also a similar experience to Michigan, which we stayed in the Upper Peninsula. We did not actually go to the lower part. We only stayed in the Upper Peninsula, and to be honest with you, anywhere you can get to in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, go explore. With that being said, northern Wisconsin in the summer, in the forests, there are so many places to camp for very low cost, minimal services, but and literally, I think endless places we could have explored there. We could have taken years to explore there. And so if you like the forest, that's definitely a place that I recommend. And then the last place I'm going to talk about along this journey has been Oregon. When we did the West Coast, and I think this is because of my Rhode Island roots, and if you look at the latitude of it, we are at basically the same point. Newport, Oregon and Newport, Rhode Island are very similarly aligned. And it just felt like home. We stayed at the coast. And there were so many places within the Silesu National Forest that you could stay, again, for very cheap. And a lot of them were first come, first serve, which are my favorite kind of places, which I will talk about later. But that's really fun because you don't need a reservation. And I think that's it. I think that covers the places I've been that I have enjoyed the most. I'm going to talk about different tips I have for off-grid travel next, and then we'll get into words of wisdom that I may have. Let's talk tips and tricks for off-grid exploring. There are many different ways that you can wander the country, experience this world, we chose to do it from the perspective of leaving the largest impact with ourselves, but also leaving behind the smallest footprint, meaning the things that we require, the material things from this earth that we need, we want to mitigate, and we want to use the least amount possible. And so for us, because we were already living a very simple life, it was a no-brainer to do a school bus, convert it, and make it off-grid capable. And so that way we weren't limited in where we could go, what we could experience. And to that end, we also chose the bus we did because she is a diesel engine, and also because of the length. She's only 35 feet in length, which lets us get to some places. Because she's an older 1990 model, we can get into some places that bigger units can't, which is a great tip and trick if you're someone who wants to be more off-grid, more in nature. Honestly, the smaller the unit you can get, the more remote you're going to be able to be. If you have a large fifth wheel or a large motor coach, you're not going to get into some of these places, nor do you want to be going down some of these hills in the mountains that we've gone up and through. So definitely keep that in mind when you're not only deciding where you're going, but how you want to travel, and then the rig that you're going to do it in. For us, semantics-wise, we have 100 gallons of fresh water. We have 50 gallons of gray water. We have a composting toilet, so we don't need a black tank. We have a diesel heater, as well as a wood stove for heat. We do not have an air conditioner. We tried that with our summer in West Virginia, and it just, we're not air conditioner people. We never have been, and so now we stick to traveling and staying places where when it gets hot, we just are able to go outside, like the forest or the ocean. And we have 800 watts of solar power, which the only time we've actually ever needed to use our generator was once in Arizona when we realized it wasn't hooked up right, and Azrael had to fix it and order some new parts. And then when we were over the summer in Michigan, we were with dense tree cover, and we just couldn't get enough recovery a lot. Same thing when we were in Oregon in the fall. So we've used it a few times. But I mean, in the 2 years we've been on the road, we've probably used it no more than 15 times, which, fuel-wise, all of our electricity comes from the sun. So that initial couple $1,000 investment has paid for itself tenfold. My electricity bill used to be $400 a month. Like, there's no question about it. Let's see, something we do use, and something I've expressed from our previous life, is we only use eco-friendly products. And so that way, when we are out in nature or on other people's land, we are able to dump our gray water and put it back into the earth. Because something I struggle with is the fact that we're not only using poisonous chemicals and putting it into our water and then treating it and then consuming it, but then we're also not able to put it back into the earth, that's how cycles work. The water comes to us, it goes in. And so we will continue to adhere to that natural, cyclical way of consuming, using, and reusing water whenever we actually can. In our travels, we realize we need a lot of storage for bulk food, which is a great tip and trick for anyone who's going to be on the road for long periods of time. Grocery stores, co-ops, organic, it's so expensive. And so we have learned to find discount grocery stores in all the areas you're in for pantry things. We only shop for fruits and veggies at farmers markets. If we have to go to a grocery store, we're going to a co-op or a natural grocers. We do not do Whole Foods. We won't step foot in a regular grocery store. There's literally nothing in there that I consider food. And so every year in Arizona, we do a bulk buy online from Essential Organics with beans and rice spices, all things that we haven't been able to, or things that I wouldn't purchase in a store, which is something I really do suggest because it's been able to help keep the cost of living down by continuing this scratch cooking, because going out to eat and coffees and things like that, the cost of that really does add up for 4 of us very quickly. Let's see, apps that I'm going to recommend for you and that I've used, so I'm going to recommend it, is HipCamp. That was a great resource. So for me, something I enjoy and really strive for is to support people. I really try to get out of this more of that corporate mindset and really help individuals that are trying to make a difference in the world. And so HipCamp has been a great resource for that, for not only places to camp if we want little getaways, or but also places to park an RV with the options to plug in, not plug in. I can't speak to one poor experience. I mean, even when we were in Michigan, we booked a HipCamp and they had us on their farm, and it just happened to be like a once in a century heat wave. And so we ended up going down by the lake because it was much cooler, but even then that was nothing they could control. The space they had was so beautiful that I would still do it again. Another app we use a lot is RV Parky. It's a great, especially with traveling and going through places. You can find not only places to travel for free, but very low cost places. Other people can share their experiences. You can find just water, just fuel, just propane. You can filter your searches, which has been a really beneficial thing for us. And I use that a lot in conjunction with the app iOverlander. iOverlander also has those filters that you can search, but they also have a lot of, they have 3 options: wild camping, meaning in nature, informal camping, which is parking lots, and then established camping, which is RV parks. And so you can choose what you'd like to look for. And so when we're traveling somewhere, it's beautiful, and it also helps if it's a new place and a new experience to hear from the words of others, and that's why I do like those 2 apps specifically. The other 2 things that we've had great experience with is woof.org, which is the World Organization of Organic Farming, and we have bartered our time and energy in exchange for a place to stay on a lot of organic farms throughout this country and homesteads. It's been a very rewarding experience, and one where we can not only learn but also exchange knowledge. So that's been wonderful. And then IC.org, which is intentionalcommunities.org. And so for us, we have met and reached out and visited a few intentional people and communities through that website, and found, so for us, we like to not only barter our time and energy, but we believe that everything is energy. And so sometimes that energy is money, and sometimes that energy is time, and sometimes that energy is knowledge. And so we like to offer and barter and exchange all different forms of energy, not just money. And so especially the woofing or the intentional communities, and even the HipCamp has opened up that opportunity for us to connect with humans and live in that way, which has been really, really beautiful. Our goal now is really just to travel intentionally as we did living. And with that, some of the fun things I can say, when we do go to tourist places, is we keep in mind that most people do work and live in that 9-to-5 box. And so weekends and summer, everything is absolutely insane, very busy. And so we like to visit not only during the week, but also on the off season when things just open up or when they just close for the season. That's some of our favorite times to visit, particularly in the out west middle part, the Yellowstone. That whole area gets I mean, it wasn't even worth even trying to drive in. When you're driving bumper to bumper, you're not really in nature. And so my best advice is to stay an hour and a half, 2 hours away from those places, and then take your vehicle or other unit into them in that way. Which, with us, that's also another tip that I would give. The first 6 months we were on the road, we didn't have a secondary vehicle. We only had the bus, and that meant every time we had to go to the grocery store, everybody had to go. And so we quickly bought a vehicle, which we were going to tow behind, but I actually drive it now with the dogs because they love car rides and they don't like bus rides. Yeah, that's tips. Anything else that I would say? That's all I have for tips and tricks right now. And if I think of anything else, I'll update. But we're going to let me go into some words of wisdom and some things to really share and reflect on 2 years into this. To close out this video, I really wanted to share my own personal words of wisdom, things that I have personally come to learn upon reflection in this journey, particularly living this nomadic lifestyle. The first thing that I would say is just to breathe. There were many times on this journey that things were so different for me, or the world around me was changing so rapidly that I felt like I couldn't, there was nothing for me to grasp onto. And the beautiful thing that I learned is that the second I just stopped and took some deep breaths, the world stopped shifting, or it at least slowed down enough for me to be able to find that anchor point. And so a lot of what I've learned and we've been able to experience has been just the ability to breathe. Part of my faith in life is that we all have our own unique path. We are all individual souls on an individual journey, working towards a collective oneness within us all. And in doing so, it has been a beautiful lesson in really taking everything in flow and knowing that whatever is meant for me personally will be here, provided and in front of me. And no matter or no amount of mind rambling or mouth running will shift that path. And so trusting what we feel here, which starting with the breath has really helped align our hearts and our minds to what we know to be true, and also where we want to be going in this lifetime and on this journey and what we're here to do. And a lot of moving and going on the road and stepping outside of what you know is part of that journey to alignment, or at least part of that journey into listening to what you know to be true. For us, it was more time together as a family, more time with intentional humans, and more time nurturing this planet. And I think that we have definitely successfully done that and will continue to do that. With that, let your choices be aligned, meaning what you do and how you travel, let yourself go in the flow. You don't have to plan months or years in advance. Let yourself say, this is the next place I want to go, and enjoy that place. And if you feel the need to rest, rest. For me, anytime I feel stress, I know that's my time to rest. And so sometimes we've meant to stay at a place for a week, and we stay for months and the ability to be able to listen to yourself, but also explore places. You get to see the beauty that's in the everyday, the people that you don't see when you just go to the national parks and the tourist places and the TJ Maxx's. That's for me. You don't see those places. You don't see those things, and so by slowing down and simplifying, it gives you the ability, or gave me the ability, to really experience this world that we get blessed to live in. Put energy into what aligns with you, and what I mean by that is we like to support people, and so with that, if we travel, we use Hip Camp or we use Airbnb. We don't stay at hotels unless there's an absolute no other option. We don't shop at normal grocery stores. We don't eat fast food. If I don't know where that food came from and I can't make it myself, it's not going in my body. That hasn't changed. And so by traveling and keeping that alignment to what I know to be true, we've been able to spread that light to so many people and also receive that light and that energy from so many people. And it's just an experience we wouldn't have been able to experience had we stayed in the same place that we'd been in for so long. And so to end this video, I thank you for hanging out with me and listening to this, and I hope that this again gives you the courage to follow your intuition no matter what it's telling you, and to live a life aligned with what you yourself know to be true, and in that you will find the unconditional love that is all around us and is here for us to receive. I love you. Until next time, have a blessed day, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. If you want to find beauty in the desert, simply find a walk.